We all go through moments in life where it feels like nothing is moving. You look around and see people progressing, changing careers, building relationships, finding happiness, while you sit there, trapped in a version of life that no longer excites you. The dreams you once had feel distant, the plans you made have been delayed, and somewhere in the silence of your routine, a thought creeps in, is this it? That moment right there, that uncomfortable space where you feel trapped, uncertain, unmotivated, is what we call being stuck. It's one of the most universally human experiences, and yet when you're in it, it feels deeply personal. It feels like something is wrong with you, like you're broken. But let's get one thing straight. Being stuck is not a flaw in you. It's a phase, a chapter in your story, not the whole book. The problem is when we're stuck for too long, our minds start to normalize it. We begin to adjust to the feeling of low energy, of waking up with no direction, of having dreams we never touch. We convince ourselves that this is just the way it is now, that maybe we peaked already, that maybe life isn't meant to be more. That is the lie. The truth is, being stuck is a signal, not a sentence. It's your internal system letting you know that something is off, that something within you is out of alignment with where you are. It could be a job that drains you, a relationship that doesn't support you, or a routine that keeps you small. Whatever it is, your soul recognizes that you are out of place before your mind can rationalize it. And it whispers, there's more. The danger is when we mistake stillness for failure. We think that just because we aren't moving forward, we must be doing something wrong. But sometimes stillness is preparation. A storm isn't always visible. Sometimes it's building quietly beneath the surface. You may not see growth on the outside, but that doesn't mean it isn't happening within. And just because you can't see the way out doesn't mean there isn't one. Being stuck is not permanent. It's not a definition of who you are. It's a condition, and all conditions can be changed. But the change begins with perspective. Instead of labeling yourself as someone who's lost or unmotivated, start to recognize the stuck season for what it is, a wake-up call. A checkpoint, a mirror asking you, are you really living the life you want? And here's the most important part, no one is immune to it. The people you admire, the people you think have it all together, they've been stuck too. They've questioned their purpose. They've sat on the edge of giving up. The only difference is they didn't stay there. They didn't let that feeling become their identity. They listened to the discomfort and they used it. They turned the stuck season into fuel. But in order to move forward, you first have to stop blaming yourself for being stuck. Too often, we attach shame to our stagnation. We feel guilty for not doing more, not knowing more, not being further along. But growth doesn't respond to guilt. Growth responds to awareness, to self-compassion, to a willingness to start again imperfectly, quietly, one decision at a time. So when you're feeling stuck, don't rush to escape the feeling. Sit with it, learn from it, ask it questions. What is it here to teach you? What have you been avoiding? What are you afraid of? The answers to those questions are often the very keys to your next level. Sometimes we get stuck not because we've done something wrong, but because we're being invited to evolve. The stuck season is where we often meet ourselves most honestly, where the noise quiets down and the real questions rise to the surface. Who am I without the labels? What do I really want? What am I pretending not to know? You are not broken. You are not finished. You are not behind. You are simply in a space between what was and what will be. And that space, though uncomfortable, is full of power, because in that space you still get to choose. When you feel stuck, the natural tendency is to overthink. You sit with your thoughts, spinning in circles, analyzing every possible outcome before you've taken even a single step. You tell yourself you need more clarity, more information, more time, so you wait. You wait for motivation to strike, for fear to leave, for the moment when you finally feel ready. But that moment rarely comes, because waiting does not create momentum. Thinking does not produce movement. Action does. We often fall into the trap of believing we need to feel confident before we act, but that's not how confidence is built. Confidence is not the starting point, it's the result. It comes from doing, from showing up in the face of doubt, from moving forward even when your legs are shaking. It's in the doing that you discover your own strength. And it's in the doing that you begin to silence the voice that keeps you stuck. The stuck feeling feeds on inaction. It grows in spaces where you hesitate, procrastinate, and second guess. It loves perfectionism. It thrives in indecision. The longer you stay still, the heavier the weight becomes. The more your dreams shrink, the more your excuses grow. You tell yourself you'll start next week, next month, when you're less tired, when life calms down, when you have more support. But life doesn't always hand you the perfect conditions. More often than not, it dares you to act in the middle of the mess. And that's exactly what you have to do, because action creates clarity. You can't figure everything out in your head. Some lessons only show up when your feet are moving. You won't always know if it's the right path, but you won't know anything if you stay frozen. Every step teaches you something. Even the wrong steps shape the right direction. Momentum is built one decision at a time, one imperfect move at a time. There's a moment in every person's life where they have to decide to move forward without guarantees, to leap without certainty, to begin without proof that it will work. That moment is where transformation begins. It's not about having the whole staircase, it's about taking the first step, even if it's shaky. That first step is where the shift begins, because it sends a message to your mind and body. We are not staying here. You don't need a full plan to start. You need a direction. You need a willingness to try. You need to stop treating action as something you do only when you feel 100% sure. You'll never have total certainty, but you can have courage. You can have the discipline to choose movement over paralysis. People often confuse being busy with being in motion. You can fill your schedule and still be stuck. Real action means progress toward what matters. It means doing the things that scare you, making the phone call, starting the project, asking for help, setting the boundary, telling the truth. It's not always glamorous. Sometimes action looks like getting up when you don't want to. Sometimes it looks like trying again after failing 10 times. But no matter how small, every act of forward motion chips away at the resistance. There's also a hidden strength that comes from committing to action even when you don't feel inspired. Waiting for inspiration is a trap. Inspiration is unreliable. It comes and goes like weather. Discipline, however, is consistent. It's the habit of showing up no matter how you feel. And the beautiful part is, once you start moving, inspiration often follows. Energy follows motion. Creativity follows effort. Direction follows discipline. When you commit to action, you also reclaim your power. You stop letting fear dictate your choices. You stop waiting for permission. You become someone who takes responsibility for change, even when it's uncomfortable. And that changes everything, not because the external situation is perfect, but because your internal posture shifts. You go from being reactive to being proactive. You go from asking, "What if I fail?" to asking, what if this works? That shift, even if it starts as a whisper, is enough to begin the journey out of being stuck. You are not waiting for the perfect moment. You are becoming the moment. And with each step, no matter how small, you start proving to yourself that forward is possible. One of the hardest truths to accept when you feel stuck is that no one else can do the work for you. It's tempting to look outward at circumstances, at other people, at the economy, at your upbringing, and blame those things for where you are. It's easier to say, if only this had happened, or if only someone would help me, rather than take full ownership. But breakthrough never comes from waiting for someone else to save you or change your circumstances. It comes from realizing that you are the author of your own story, and that means you have the power and the responsibility to write a new chapter. Taking responsibility for your breakthrough means stepping out of the victim mindset. It means acknowledging that, while you may not control everything that happens to you, you do control how you respond. It's not about blaming yourself for hardships or setbacks. It's about reclaiming your power to decide what you will do next. This shift in mindset is crucial because when you hand over the responsibility for your change to others, you surrender your agency. You put your life in the hands of chance, waiting for a miracle, a rescue, or a perfect opportunity that may never come. Many people remain stuck precisely because they are waiting for external validation or support to feel ready. They want permission to start or someone to point the way clearly, but the reality is that your breakthrough depends on your willingness to act even when the path is unclear. It depends on you saying, "I will move forward even if I don't have all the answers." This kind of courage is the difference between stagnation and growth. When you own your breakthrough, you accept that you are the one responsible for the conditions of your life. That means you look at your choices, your habits, your thoughts, and your actions honestly. You ask yourself hard questions. What am I willing to change? What am I willing to stop doing? What story have I been telling myself that no longer serves me? This kind of self-reflection isn't always comfortable, but it's necessary. Because breakthroughs are rarely accidental, they come from intention, effort, and persistence. This responsibility can feel overwhelming at first. The weight of knowing that no one else is coming to fix things can trigger fear, doubt, and resistance. But it can also be deeply liberating. You no longer have to wait for others to decide your fate. You get to choose. You get to take the driver's seat, steering your life in the direction you want it to go. And every step you take toward that direction, no matter how small, becomes a victory. You also have to understand that responsibility does not mean doing everything alone. Taking ownership of your breakthrough means seeking out resources, asking for help when you need it, and learning from others who have walked similar paths. But it means that you are the one who must do the inner work, make the hard decisions, and push yourself to keep going when obstacles arise. No one else can do this for you because it is your life and your growth to claim. When you embrace responsibility, you become proactive rather than reactive. You stop blaming circumstances and start creating solutions. You stop complaining and start acting. This shift in mindset leads to a different way of living, one where you no longer feel at the mercy of life's unpredictability, but empowered by your own ability to navigate it. This doesn't mean that challenges disappear. They still come, but you meet them with a new level of resilience and determination. The moment you decide to take responsibility is the moment you invite breakthrough into your life. Because breakthrough isn't about luck or waiting for the perfect opportunity. It's about consistent, intentional action taken by someone who refuses to give up. It's about someone who understands that they are the catalyst for their own transformation. Owning your break through also means being honest with yourself about your limitations and fears. It means admitting when you don't know something and being willing to learn. It means recognizing that setbacks are part of the process, not the end of the road. This level of self-awareness and accountability sets you apart from those who remain stuck, frozen by uncertainty or blame. When you stop waiting for others and start taking responsibility for your own progress, you ignite a powerful force within you. You become the architect of your destiny, and every choice you make moves you closer to the life you desire. This shift in mindset is not easy, but it is essential. Because the truth is, the breakthrough you seek lies within your own hands, waiting for you to claim it. Discomfort is often seen as something to avoid at all costs. We naturally shy away from pain, uncertainty, and difficulty. We seek comfort, familiarity, and ease because those feelings are safe. But when you're stuck, that very discomfort, the unease in your heart, the restlessness in your mind, the tension in your body, is actually a powerful signal. It's a sign that growth is happening, or at least trying to happen. The truth is, if you want to move beyond your current situation, if you want to break free from stagnation, you must learn to welcome discomfort as a necessary companion on your journey. Discomfort shows up in many ways. Maybe it's the fear you feel when considering a big change, the anxiety that comes with stepping into the unknown, or the frustration of facing resistance when you try to move forward. It might feel like restlessness, boredom, or even pain. But whatever form it takes, discomfort is the internal alarm system that tells you you're stretching, you're expanding, you're growing. Growth is rarely comfortable. Think about a muscle getting stronger. It doesn't happen by lifting light weights and staying in the same routine. It happens when you push beyond your limits, when you strain, when you feel sore. Discomfort is part of the process of building resilience and strength. Similarly, emotional and mental growth requires stepping into new territory, challenging old beliefs, taking risks, facing fears. And that process feels uncomfortable. It might even feel frightening, but many people misunderstand discomfort and interpret it as a signal to retreat. They think, if this hurts, it must be wrong, I should stop. Yet this avoidance keeps them trapped in the same patterns, in the same life, over and over again. They cling to what feels safe, even if it's limiting, because the pain of change seems worse than the pain of staying stuck. What if you could shift your relationship with discomfort? What if you began to see it not as the enemy, but as the doorway? When you embrace discomfort, you open yourself to transformation. You allow yourself to be shaped by challenges rather than defined by them. You learn that discomfort is temporary, but growth is permanent. This mindset doesn't mean you should seek out pain needlessly or ignore when something truly isn't right for you. It means recognizing that discomfort is an inevitable part of any meaningful change. It means leaning into the tension rather than running from it. It means understanding that discomfort signals you are no longer in your comfort zone. And that's exactly where growth happens. When you push through discomfort, you build courage. You prove to yourself that you are stronger than your fears. Every time you do the thing you resist, every time you face a difficult conversation, take a risk, or try something new, you expand your capacity for handling uncertainty. You grow in confidence, in wisdom, in resilience. It's important to notice that growth is rarely linear. Sometimes discomfort feels like chaos or confusion. Sometimes it feels like failure or setback. But even those moments are part of the process. They test your commitment and deepen your understanding of yourself and your path. If you can sit with discomfort long enough to learn from it, you will find that it carries you forward instead of holding you back. Discomfort also forces you to become more honest with yourself. When things are easy, it's tempting to stay on autopilot, ignoring what's truly going on inside. But discomfort disrupts autopilot. It asks you to pay attention, to question, to make decisions that align with who you really are and who you want to become. In this way, discomfort is a teacher. It strips away illusions and challenges you to confront what's real. It calls you to act with intention and courage. It reminds you that growth is not about perfection or ease, but about persistence and resilience. When you accept discomfort as a natural and necessary part of growth, you empower yourself to keep moving forward even when the road feels difficult. You develop a new kind of strength, one that's not dependent on external circumstances, but rooted in your inner resolve. Learning to embrace discomfort transforms how you live your life. It shifts your perspective from seeking a life free of pain to seeking a life rich with meaning. It helps you see that every difficult moment carries within it the seeds of possibility. That discomfort is not something to avoid, but something to trust as part of your journey toward becoming the fullest version of yourself. When life feels overwhelming and progress seems impossible, it's easy to feel like you're buried, trapped beneath layers of difficulty, disappointment, and doubt. You might believe that the weight of your circumstances has crushed you, that you're stuck under an unmovable burden, or that the dark soil around you is suffocating, leaving no room for growth. But this feeling of being buried is actually a powerful metaphor for what's really happening beneath the surface. Instead of being buried, you are planted, and being planted is not about being stuck or defeated. It's about being prepared for new life, for growth, for transformation. The difference between being buried and being planted lies in perspective. When seeds are planted in the ground, it may look like they disappear into darkness. They are hidden out of sight in what might seem like a lifeless space. But beneath the surface, there is a process unfolding. Roots are spreading, gathering nutrients, anchoring. The seed is breaking down and building itself up in a new form. It is quietly preparing to sprout, to push through the soil, to reach toward the light. That process is unseen but vital. Similarly, when you feel stuck or overwhelmed, it's not because you are defeated or done. It's because you are in the midst of a transformation that requires rest, reflection, and nourishment. It's a time when your inner strength is developing, even if you can't yet see the results. Feeling buried may mean you are in the soil of change, absorbing lessons, developing resilience, and preparing for a breakthrough that only time can reveal. Understanding this shifts your relationship with struggle and waiting. Instead of feeling hopeless or frustrated, you begin to realize that your current season is part of a larger cycle. Just as a planted seed must endure darkness and pressure before growing into a strong plant, you too must experience discomfort and challenge before flourishing. This means that the struggles you face now are not signs of failure, but signs of growth. Being planted also means having faith in the process of life. It means trusting that even when things look bleak or uncertain, there is a purpose behind your experience. This kind of faith doesn't require you to have all the answers or see the whole path. It asks only that you remain open to possibility, patient in the waiting, and willing to nurture yourself as you grow. When you shift from feeling buried to recognizing that you're planted, you open yourself to new hope. You begin to see your challenges as temporary conditions, necessary and even helpful in shaping who you are becoming. You understand that growth often happens in stages, with periods of stillness as important as periods of action. Being planted is also about potential. It's about recognizing that within you lies everything needed to thrive. You are not less than because you are in a tough place. You are more than because you are being formed into something new. The process may be uncomfortable, but it is meaningful. It is life-giving. It is preparing you for what's next. This perspective encourages you to care for yourself with kindness during difficult times. Just as a gardener tends to the soil, watering, fertilizing, protecting, you must tend to your own well-being. Rest, reflection, and self-compassion are not signs of weakness. They are part of your growth. When you honor your needs, you give yourself the best chance to emerge stronger. The metaphor of being planted also reminds you that growth requires time. Seeds don't sprout overnight. They need patience, nurturing, and trust in the natural timing of things. When you feel impatient or frustrated, remind yourself that growth is a process, not an event. You may not see immediate results, but the work you are doing beneath the surface is vital and ongoing. Ultimately, recognizing that you are planted changes your story. It changes how you view struggle, waiting, and uncertainty. Instead of feeling buried and hopeless, you begin to feel grounded and hopeful. You start to embrace your journey with faith that what's happening now is making way for something greater. And that faith is the foundation from which all growth springs. Feeling stuck is a universal experience, but it doesn't define you or your future. It's a temporary season that calls for awareness, courage, and action. By recognizing that being stuck is not permanent, embracing the power of taking deliberate steps forward, and owning your responsibility for change, you begin to reclaim control over your life. Understanding that discomfort is not the enemy, but a sign of growth helps you to lean into challenges rather than avoid them. And finally, seeing yourself not as buried beneath difficulties, but as planted growing quietly beneath the surface, reminds you that transformation is unfolding even when it's not yet visible. This journey through uncertainty and struggle is not just about breaking free. It's about becoming stronger, wiser, and more resilient. The breakthrough you seek is within reach, and it begins with the choice to move forward, no matter how small the step.